recap what we plan on covering for today. One, we're going to look into Go HighLevel's calendar system to talk about ways to more customize it for advanced scheduling options for people who want to come in and schedule an appointment for the day of, and basically limiting them for how early they can book. And then also, is there a more effective way to adjust your availability? And then second, we're going to go into ways to revise some of the content on the website in order to be clear as to what you are offering, but also being mindful about third parties coming in, such as banks. And if they read the website, we need to be more subtle in the services that we offer. And so we can kind of give you advice based off of our experiences about that.
And to be clear, nothing in this will be legal advice. This will all be based on what we've been hearing from others and some speculation. So everybody proceed with caution.
Opening up for the website, we'll go into like booking itself, but we should also talk about the rescheduling. Remind me, do you have a policy for rescheduling and canceling? So they have maybe 24 hours to cancel or to reschedule?
I usually do that for like existing clients. So I don't know that I'll be as picky with these folks if they need to reschedule once or twice.
So we can keep it.
Yeah, if it becomes a problem, I'll definitely let you know and we can add something in.
There it is. Minimum scheduling notice. So require users to book meetings at least this much time in advance. So you want 1 day. And then we also put buffering time as well, if you're interested in that, like between meetings, if you'd like.
I think those will be fine. I'm not getting that level of interest at this time.
All right, no problem. So just to recap of how to find this, you're in your account. This could be basically the starting point. Whenever you log in, you will go to your dashboard first, but then you will come to calendars after, and then you'll go to calendar settings up here. And then you have to go into edit calendar again. This is the one that we have for you right now. There's a 30-minute consultation. You edit that calendar and then you go under availability. And this is where you can edit the specific times. For here, these hours I think are in Pacific. We changed it here, minimum scheduling notice, so that users have to book meetings at least 1 day in advance. But if you want to change that to hours or weeks or months, you're welcome to. Okay,
perfect.
Great. So yeah, that should be good. We can save our changes there. And then you had another issue about calendars, which is adjusting the availability for specific days, was it?
Yeah. Like I'll be out of town the week of Thanksgiving, for example. So like I would prefer to not schedule anything that week.
It should be this whole week, right? Like this entire week.
Yeah.
So in this case, to block off time while keeping your recurring calendar, we'll do a test. It should work, but basically what I'm going to do is like all day from the 23rd to the 29th will be blocked off time. So we're going to block off on your calendar, start time November 23rd to the 29th, and then block time. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So now it is blocked off. So no one can book that last week. I imagine for December, you'll want to do it again. Work on the calendar view. Okay, any other questions on the calendar that you want help with?
No, I think that answers those for right now. Some of my thoughts was like, I do have a logo that's the same. It just says New Awareness Healing. And that is technically the name that I'm going by now, just to keep some of it on the DL. So I think I could send that to you and we could update the logo and then just change it to New Awareness Healing. And that in and of itself, I think would be huge.
It's tough. The word on the street is that some companies are hiding all mention of mushrooms, psilocybin, psychedelic, even the mushroom emoji. The problem is then people who are looking for this service don't know if you're the right place.
Yeah.
Some of them are trying to bury it deeper in the website, keep it real light on the homepage, but bury it deeper. I don't really think that's a good strategy to ensure that people who are doing checks will miss it. If they're doing their job right, they should be checking a little more deeply anyway. The other thing that seems to help is just to keep building a relationship with the financial services companies, the banks, the credit unions, whoever. The higher up the chain you can go and be friends, the more likely they're going to try to give you some leniency, I think, from what I've heard from people.
Yeah.
And of course, there are other people who are doing the other strategy completely. Don't say anything. Don't talk to anybody. Just hope that staying quiet goes unnoticed.
there's somebody at the bank who knows what's going on, but they're just being...
Are they a cog in the wheel? Are they a decision maker?
They gave me some just soft advice of like, I can't promise you this won't get shut down, but so far none of the healing centers they've worked with have gotten shut down. Deposit massive amounts of cash, don't draw attention in these ways.
Even if you do have cash there, if they shut you down, they have to give it back. They still have to operate by their normal banking procedures. If the feds get involved, all bets are off. This is why, as NourishCap, if I can share the quick plug, we set up a wait list for financial services. We want to work with particular back-end providers and go through all the processes to ensure that it'll never be shut down, because we'll have a connection from the front end or retail end, which is us, or equivalently, that would be like the bank or credit union. That's the retail side of the financial world, to the back-end processors who actually transfer money between different banks and institutions. That's the company that we're working with. And why is it that we would do any better than anybody else in this? It's because most of these other organizations were not designed for it from the beginning. So they've got a lot to lose riding on this, as opposed to a system that's designed to be compliant and designed with all the fail-safes and checks and insurances and balances and so forth from the beginning. So a lot of them are, as you might understand, in a banking world, risk averse.
Yes.
And so it's tough for them to contemplate any kind of uncertainty as opposed to a core part of the business model. So I'm saying a lot of this as a sort of public service announcement to the psychedelic services world, to any kind of psychedelic assisted therapy that's trying to be, I think rightfully should be, working above ground. I've talked with a number of people who signed up for accounts, they tried to lay low to the radar, and then their accounts were stopped. Not immediately, sometimes days, weeks, months, sometimes as much as 2 or more years later, when somebody on the other end finally got around to doing their compliance checks, whatever their routine is at the bank, at PayPal, at Venmo, at Stripe, at QuickBooks, at all these different places have compliance processes on their own schedules and based on their own risk assessments. So just because somebody has been able to fly under the radar for a while, or even it's not totally under the radar, it's obvious in their website, it's obvious in their business name or whoever they talk to, they feel like they're not flying under the radar, but the compliance part hasn't happened yet. There's no guarantee it won't later, which is why I'm really trying to make this appeal for people to sign up. I made a whole video about it, but it seemed like a lot of people just thought that taking cash or being quiet would be good enough for getting started. And I get it. Like, it's tough. Things are expensive to get started. Everybody's got to start simply. But if we can get a critical mass of people interested in the wait list is linked from NourishCap.com. Thank you so much, Ashley, joined already. That's what we're trying to put together, because we can't do this in small volumes. Like, we can't offer reasonable prices for the services unless we get a certain number. I'm not going to say a specific number, but at least a certain minimum number of people who are strongly interested and would be willing to pay some kind of normal service fees for this, which is called high-risk transaction processing. It's high risk because of the extra compliance, not because it's an inherently bad thing. Again, other strategies I've heard for other people, like, what do you do in the meantime? Just what you're doing, trying to make it clear that you're licensed, you're above board, and all of your communications on your website and elsewhere, making it transparent who you are, who that is, what that licensing is, and potentially being prepared to sign up for some other services, as backups, even if you don't use them initially. Again, it's not legal advice, and I'm just guessing here that if you were to sign up for an account and not use it, it's going to take them longer to get around to checking that. So you could have a backup account that you're signed up for and just kind of sitting on, and then a couple of more accounts that you might want to create later, but not right now, so the clock doesn't start ticking yet. So that's sort of backups to backups in terms of the strategy if you needed to change it the last.
One of the good things is that I already have my counseling practice in that account set up and good to go, and I wanted to add a separate bank just so if this one gets flagged or I don't want them to shut down all my accounts.
Yes, I think that's a good idea. And I have heard some people use the same account for that as some other thing. And I think that's very risky that you end up losing access to both.
What I really need it for is my counseling practice. Like I run a lot of cards and stuff through that. I can, at least in the short term, do the cash component. I would like to start just for tax purposes too, keeping everything separate. Like it's just like a big mess of taking from this account and this and cash. And then,
yeah, you need it to be well organized. You need it in case there's ever an audit.
Do it well above ground. So
that's the goal here, right? Because this is providing legitimate benefit. So the more people that bring it above ground, the easier it'll be to stay there. As far as any other strategies I've heard, I guess it doesn't seem like there are a whole lot of options. The national systems have the most to lose. So again, some people are getting by with it for a while and then having sort of a mix of national and sort of local or regional banking as one possible mitigation. But until federal rules change, until there's some kind of advice consistent with the advice, it's called FINSA in 2014 in cannabis that made it a little bit easier, it's going to remain very, very questionable. And I think that other companies, even ones that are involved with cannabis, are not going to enter the psychedelic space because the reason they're operating in cannabis is like the question is like, can I just go to one of the companies doing financial services for cannabis? Maybe if they're willing to take a chance, but a lot of them are only doing what they're doing for cannabis because there's federal guidance for that does not exist for psilocybin or any psychedelic.
I've had luck with cannabis banking. I hope you get your list.
I hope we do too. I really would like to offer this for everybody. We're geared up as far as putting the technology together and the business processes. Right now, the holdup is educating the public enough as to why it is they need something special for this. Why do they need that instead of just flying under the radar or waiting for things to change? It's probably going to be a while. Yeah, but we'll be there to help you, Ashley, and any of our members with the technology and reintegrating things if we need to change from one to another and that sort of thing in the meantime. Any other questions on that topic or any topic?
I booked out my spots for this month with folks and I have some people into November and then possibly December. So I'm starting to get some interest and looking at, I just had another office in my building open up with the renter left. And so like looking into the possibility of bringing on a facilitator or maybe renting a room. I'm looking into that, like some of that's uncomfortable for me. So just making sure I find a good people to work with for that. It's all going well.
We could also potentially help in referring clients if there's ever a situation where that would make sense. So for some people, they want to get services sooner than time is available with somebody, and they'd like to then have sort of a warm intro or referral to somebody else just because timing or some other circumstance or whatever doesn't work out. And so we could talk to you about how to make that something that's comfortable and how that all works between companies, that sort of thing.
Yeah, that would be great.
There are different options for that.
Perfect.
Okay, fantastic. Well, if nothing else for today, we can call it.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. And I will plan on hopping on next week.
Great. Hopefully by then we'll have some new capabilities with the forms processing to show publicly as well.
Well, yeah, good luck with that. And I'll see y'all later.
Okay, great. See you.